where everyone needs to make a commitment to self. What do you really want?
Exactly.
If you want a better life, you can create it. If you want, a better relationship, you can create it. If you want more money, you can create it. If you want more freedom, you can create it. If you fucking want it all, you can create it.
Have it all. Exactly.
I
If
do.
you want it all, go for it. I love that. Welcome to the Enlightened Podcast, the enlightened journey of life. Because we're not just here to chase enlightenment, we are here to live life, to embody all aspects of ourselves, to bring the sacred into every day. I'm your host, Jen Hamilton, self-mastery mentor, tantra guide, and sacred rebel at heart. This podcast is a devotion to the art of knowing thyself. Through solo snippets, raw musings, and deep conversations with epic guests, we explore the sacred, the sensual, and the spiritual, diving deep into self-exploration and always leaving you with something to take away. This isn't just a podcast, it's a portal to awaken, to liberate, to remember who you truly are. It is an honor to have you here. Let's get enlightened. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and my very special guest today is Kelli Hurley. Kelli is the founder of Energetically Inspired, an internationally recognized energy healer, transformational coach, and creator of the Quantify Formula. For over a decade, she has helped thousands release deep energetic blocks, break free from limitations, and align with their highest potential, blending quantum energetics, somatic healing, and ancient spiritual principles. She now empowers soul-led entrepreneurs to create thriving, sustainable businesses on their terms, using her signature Quantify Formula to fuse 5D energetics and practical tools to attract aligned clients and consistent income without burnout or manipulation. Ranked among the top 3 energy healers on Google for years and featured in 2 best-selling books, Kelli is redefining how spiritual entrepreneurs step into abundance and lead in the age of Aquarius. It was so wonderful to have Kelli as a guest on the Enlightened Podcast. I'm excited for you to hear this interview. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to the Enlightened Podcast. I'm joined by Kelli. Kelli, welcome to the Enlightened Podcast. How are you today?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm so excited to have you here because we're going to go into some really cool out there topics, which is pretty normal for this podcast.
I love it. We already align.
We already do. Exactly. Like you've said a few things already. I'm like, yes, let's talk about that. Yes, let's talk about that. Tell us what the magic is in the world that you do.
So I kind of blend 2 realities, basically. There's this physical reality and the energetic reality. I love bringing the spirituality and the things that I guess so many people used to call woo-woo, which isn't anymore, right? It is a lot of science backing this.
Yes.
And so I feel like I have my feet in 2 worlds. And I'm kind of that point of bringing it all together so we can change the way the world has been functioning and bring people into a way that actually is meant for our soul and our spirit. So bringing purpose, passion, happiness, things that fulfill us and living from a place that lights us up.
Yes. How long have you been on this journey for?
My journey, wow. I think I was always a claircognizance as a child, but I switched that off, being the human part, wanting to fit in, wanting to blend into how everyone wants us to be, and knowing I felt like I was a little bit different, right? Because I would know things and then I would feel that the adults would be like, how did she know that, And so I shut it off. I kind of got into my head and, as we do, right? And then in my 20s, I guess, slowly it started to kind of come back into my field of like, oh, I knew that. How did I know that? Hang on, and I started being like, wow. It wasn't until I was in vet nursing and something caught my attention to go into animal communications, to be honest.
Wow, okay.
Right? And everyone's like, oh, that's a bit left field. Like, really? Talking to the animals? And I was like, I'm just going to go test this out. I'm kind of cold to go and see.
Yeah.
And I had to get my certificate, I had to do 50 animals. Some of them were friends, parents, animals I've never met, other states. I'd look at a picture and have to read the animal and get questions. And that was the first time I kind of was dropping into this intuitive, seeing visions, and answering these things, and then have to contact the person and say, hey, this is what I picked up from your animal. Wow. And they would validate everything, age, where they slept, what the house looked like. And I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. I did. I was like, are they going to think I'm crazy? Like, am I really seeing this? Like, my whole head was like a little bit like, oh, this is weird, right?
Yeah.
And it just from there, it slowly evolved that I kind of got more and more into things that were a little bit left field at that stage, but are not now. I guess the biggest pivotal point was through my divorce, going through a very toxic separation. There was abuse, emotional, psychological, my nervous system, trying to raise 2 kids. And that was where I had this choice of, I had all these hobbies that I've been doing. Do I actually want to try and bring them into something that I actually want to create and create a life that was aligned to me, my children, my values, and what I wanted in life? Time freedom, my own energy, being able to choose what I wanted. Or was I going to go back to corporate, to the 9 to 5, or mine was 7 to 5, 8 till 6, and send my kids to childcare? And I was like, this is a 100% now I was going to swear, but
swear, please. It's more than welcome. No. Yeah, it's a full body fuck no.
It's a full body fuck no, right?
Yeah.
And I had to. It was a journey, right? Because I had to heal too. I had so much going on in my nervous system, and that was actually a gift. Back then, if someone said it to me, I probably would have punched them.
Yeah,
to be really fucking honest, like it wasn't easy.
Yeah,
but it was an awakening, right? And it just led me down this like spiraling path of amazing things, right? To transform my life, but not just mine, a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
So
the gift of divorce.
It was amazing. I am seriously, I have said thank you to him now, for doing and creating. It was like, I feel like it was a soul's contract to give me a kick up the butt and pivot me and help others with nervous system and energetics and understanding.
Yes. I feel the same. Like I went through a separation 7.5 years ago and it was the best thing. Not at the time. Absolutely. Like it was like devastating at the time for both me and my ex-partner. But we are both thriving in life years down the track. We co-parent like absolute legends. He's got an incredible wife. Him and my partner get along really well. Like it just works,
So yummy. Yeah. So I'm grateful. And about the same time, I was about 7.5 years ago that mine happened too, right?
There we go. We're living like parallel. We've got the similarities happening already.
Hey,
this happens literally with every guest. Every guest that comes on here, I'm like, we are the same person.
I love it.
So what is it now, like the space that you work in now? How do you support other people? What do people come to you for? What are people falling in your lap going, Kelly, save me?
I actually have there's a variation. There's not just one type of like avatar, I wouldn't say. I got a lot of regular clients that are deeply into spirituality and they're on their healing path and looking for insights. And each time it's a new level up. I have a lot of clients, like a big majority of my clients come with that starting of the nervous system regulation. You can't master life if you're not mastering your nervous system.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It was the foundations of everything. And every pivotal moment in my life where I've up-leveled, my nervous system has had to readjust.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was learning that. So for me, it's like the foundations of everything. It's the change in our energy field from expanded to contracted to being in our head to being in our body, you know? And so I get a lot of clients that are looking for pivotal tools and understanding. You can have the understanding, but without the tools and being able to connect back in, you can't change anything.
No, exactly. Because if you want to go up, you've got to go down. Like you've got to root down. You've got to go inwards. If you want to expand outwards in your energy, in your frequency, you've got to go further inwards to go further outwards. Like it's maths, guys.
It's people say, oh, I want to ascend. And I'm like, you got to descend first.
Exactly.
Right? It's actually the path, right?
Yeah.
It's connecting back to all those pieces of us and honoring each bit that kind of comes up.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's teaching people simple tools too. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
I do say it's not easy, but it gets easier with the right guidance, tools, connection, and understanding.
And even just the concept of easy and hard is completely subjective anyway. Like you and I might go, oh, let's run 10Ks. You might be like, Jen, that's easy. I'll be like, fuck off, that's really hard, right?
I agree with you. It's really hard.
And if you said to me like, oh, let's dive into the darkest shadows and do 10 questions each, you might be like, fuck that. And I'm like, that's easy for me.
Yeah. 100%.
So it is completely subjective for each person. That's why I'm like, you choose your hard, because either you do what like we might deem or you might deem as hard work now, but what's harder, doing it now or staying stuck and just going around in the fucking merry-go-round for another 5, 10, 50 years, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the nervous system too. It wants to keep us where we are.
Exactly.
That's
It
its
wants
comfort
something
zone.
familiar.
Yeah. And that actually most people come to me and they're like, I need change.
Yeah.
I'm ready for change, you know, and, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but unless they want to drink, you can't make them. So I'm not here to, you know, force people to change. I'm here to invite them, you know, people that are seeking that and ready for that are ready to shift those neuron pathways, to shift their energy, to shift the reality, whatever it is. And so that can be from that nervous system is the foundations. Then we're going into, you know, the shadows, or it could be the inner child or the divine union, masculine, feminine. How do we play that realm within ourselves, right? And there's layers upon layers upon layers. So one session could be like working on a base energy, and then other clients that come in, they're deeply spiritual and been doing the work for a long time. And all of a sudden I'm accessing ancient, you know, and having all kinds of multidimensional beings appearing into my room, you know.
And you're like, hey guys, I just put the kettle on. Can I get you a cuppa?
I think sometimes I'm like, whoa, who are you? And it is with my mind's eye, but it's the transmissions that come through that are for this person, right? So, and some people would be like, what are you talking about? Like, that's out there, you know, left field, right?
I get that.
But that's the journey, right? I trust and surrender. Okay, whatever is coming up, whether it is physically there or whether I'm just an energy and a coding that's there, that's to be received. And my perception of how I see that might be visual, might be sensory, might be, you know, knowing, you know. That's the clear senses, right?
Yes. And I've got some really heightened clear senses as well. And I'll say, like, if I'm with a client and I'm just sort of looking up, so I go up to my right, and that's where I channel from. And so I'll be like, I'll be like, don't mind me. I'm just, it's all just coming out, and I'm seeing everything, and I'm like unraveling, and I'm like, how do I put this into human words? I'm going to hold your hand while I say this. You're a little fucked up.
Wow, we got some journey to do here, right?
Okay, so. And that's the thing. Like, when you work with your gifts, I was similar. Like, it's so funny when you say that you had it as a kid and you turned it off. I was the opposite. I tried to turn it on. I thought I had this magic ring. And I thought I was like from Captain Planet, right?
I was She-Ra.
For those that like are on our in our generation, you'll be like, oh fuck yeah, Captain Planet. But I was convinced I had this magical ring, and I'm like, I know I've got powers with this thing, but I also felt my whole entire childhood that I was different. And that I could feel things, I could understand things. And I had no one to talk to about this. And then when my dad said to me a lot later in life, he said, oh, by the way, my sister, like my auntie, used to talk to ghosts. And I'm like, oh my God, I get it from somewhere. And it's funny because then like it kind of evolved, you know what I mean? And it was when I really started like honing into it, would have been like my very late teens, early 20s. I went to see my first psychic medium. And then I'm like, oh my God, yes, I'm in the right place. And then I went to see another psychic before I was going overseas. And then when I got back from overseas a few weeks later, she said, oh, by the way, like I run weekly meditation classes. You should come along. And I went every week religiously for years. And not only did we do meditation, but we did psychometry. So for those of you that don't know, it's where you hold a piece of jewelry or car keys and you feel the energy of the person and you read for them. So I was learning to read. And then I opened myself up to like real people coming to pay me with real money for readings. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it. And I'm getting like, that's that validation that you were saying. You're like, I'm not crazy. Like I'm getting this random pain in my knee. Do you have something up with your knee? Yes, I do. Oh my God, it's real, you know? And so like, it was just like this evolution. And it wasn't until like, then I started partying in my 20s as well. And I used to have this belief that it was either spiritual time or party time. Like you couldn't you couldn't do both. I couldn't be one or the other. It was like there was this major separation. And I was like, fuck spirituality. I'm going to be the party girl for now. So I was the party girl for a bit. And then I was like, well, this isn't fulfilling. And then I got back into spirituality. And then my journey led me to going, do you know what? You can party and be spiritual. You don't have to do what you were doing to get there last time in the same ways to have, out of body experiences. But we can do other things. You can still blend having fun, music, dancing, like shaking your ass on the dance floor, and it being a spiritual practice.
100%.
And there's so many misconceptions around that. Like, I feel like I've been on a spiritual high horse many a times before. I've been on like the holier than thou in spirituality. I was there with veganism for a couple of years. Like, there's been so many just sort of like expansions in my own self, and then a complete death of that, the ego death that comes with it. And you're like, I get it now. And so it's just like this constant evolution, and all spirituality is to me is connection to self and something outside of myself. And it can be for whatever person, it can be whatever they decide it to be, right?
Yeah, so on point. For me, it is. It's like there's a human blueprint, right?
Yes.
And like astrology that creates us to have this personality and an essence and the way we're meant to show up in the world when we kind of come back to that, remove all the masks that we were taught to be something else. And then there's this essence of outside of us.
Yes.
And it's like this part that pulls us towards that. And so for everybody, spirituality is different. It's not a religion. It's not in a book. It's not in a box. And and there's a lot of the time for you and me, there wasn't a guidebook, like when I got my clairsentience and I was like, what is this? Oh, and then I was thinking, oh, hang on, is this even mine?
Yeah.
That was that like realization, because nobody taught me that. So
the closest thing I got to a guidebook was the movie The Craft. And they were like, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather. And they were doing seances, and then they went crazy. And then I remember this was around the time, so this was probably my early teens, I would say. And then there used to be this thing at the newsagent. I think it was based on like astrology or witchcraft or something. And it was like this binder folder, but they only released the thing every week of get the new, it's like a magazine thing where you get like some kind of crystal-y thing or witchcrafty thing or something. And my sister was collecting it. And so she sort of went down that path. And naturally, because I was older, I was following in her footsteps, like, well, this is cool. And then we sort of started going, oh, astrology. Like, oh, this. And it's like, and I loved being a bit woo-woo. Like, I've always loved it. And so for me, there was never a spiritual closet. It was always me just like, I am, like, it wasn't a thing back then. And I'm like, I'm the person, I'll be the one that stands out and be different. I'll get into the crystals. I have the smelly essential oils. I'll wear all the jewelry. And I thought that was fascinating. Were you ever in a closet that then you had to come out of, or were you just like, fuck it, this is me?
Well, I was in the closet for a while because, like I said, as a young child, and when I look at my astrology, it does show that there's the energetics of the womb, or the abandonment, which is learning to trust in our own intuition, right? Yeah. And shutting that down was fragmenting part of who I really was, right? Because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be successful. So what was society deeming that to be? And then when I kind of come into this, and my friends started saying, oh my gosh, you're really out there. You're into some weird things nowadays. That was when I started getting into it. And I was open and sharing. Yes, I'm doing this animal communication. Yes, I'm looking at these, angel, readings and this and that. And they're all, but that was me doing that one thing as a hobby and then my life. And I was into the partying as well. Yeah. And so I felt like I was these multifaceted aspects of me, in this moment I'm here and this moment I'm that. And one day it was hang on, the merging of all of her, right? Bringing her back to that. Who am I? And what actually, I love to say, what turns me on, right? What makes me animate in this energy, right? And, so often people this is who I am. So in every aspect, I'm sharing parts of my spirituality. Oh, yes, crystals, or here's this protection. And it's just natural to me. But it was coming out of the closet. And I watched a lot of people fall away because they're like, oh,
it's too woo-woo, it's too scary, it's so unfamiliar to them. Circling back to what we said about, needing to be in the familiar. If it's too out there or too intangible or too esoteric, people are like, you're cooked.
Yeah, you're done. I don't know. And even then, it was also watching me transform, going from a fragile, and being vulnerable and speaking truth. And people are like, oh, that means I might have to speak truth. I might have to be vulnerable. I might have to own these aspects of me. And there's a lot of people that don't want to go there, right?
It's true,
And, they're happy in their lives, or they're, happy in their reality, whatever that, is. But then I watched later, like all I did was eventually come back to let go of the abandonment wound, right? Which is part of that energy of me abandoning myself earlier on. And watching, just holding space of what they meant to me at certain points of like, they held space. They're a part of my journey with love, and just holding that and realizing it was just different parts of my timeline.
Yeah.
And then watching some of those like really people that meant deeply to me come back to me going, I don't think anybody else will get what I'm going through.
Yes.
That, oh my gosh, like I've seen your journey. You've been there, like this transformation. Oh, I'm diving into my inner child. I'm seeing all this, like I'm going into my shadows, and they're like, you'll get me. None of my other friends do. My work won't get me. So, watching people kind of naturally come back, and the ones that didn't, that was all right, because I created this whole different tribe of people that see me, that love me, that are honest and authentic.
It's all alignment to frequency, because we are all energy. And I understand, and I really acknowledge us in this space. We do speak a different language, because I've had friends say to me before that are very much, I guess, like outside of the space of spirituality that we play in and that we talk about. Like we can talk about consciousness, shadow work, divine union. We can talk about all of these things, subconscious, and we're like, I get it. And then there's people, and I forget sometimes, like I had a friend be like, I don't know what you're saying. What do you mean consciousness? We're all fucking conscious. We're awake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so there's, unless you're in it, and I feel like there is a segregation, yet I guess the essence of spirituality is oneness, yet there is still segregation within the space of spirituality.
Oh, terminology, right?
Yeah.
Like how we might receive like divine union. Some people are like, oh, this is man and woman. And I'm like, this is within us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's the meeting our own inner, and sometimes I'll say words and people will ask, like, I'm curious, what does that mean? Or, they might have a belief set, and then it's like, hang on, when we come into openness and being like, oh, actually, there's multiple things that, as you said, spirituality, it's, what is that for one person? It can mean something completely else for somebody else, and that's the truth, is there's so much openness and transformation and evolving happening in the space, words have frequency, but what is the energy that we put to that word creates the reality, right? That's like spelling, it's a spell, right?
Exactly that. Exactly. And once you're in it, there's such an awakening part of that. And I'd love to hear about an awakening that you've been through, or multiple. Tell us about that. Like, what does awakening mean to you?
Awakening is truly awakening, like being present in the moment, awaken to our stuff, awaken to every moment in this being. People think about awakening is like, oh, all of a sudden I'm seeing ghosts, or I'm, seeing this, and not really. It's actually, I'm awakening to me. To seeing myself in every moment, and and it unravels like each stage, in my awakening, like as I went through that, starting to see myself and see consciously my behaviors, my patterns, my thoughts, what energy was I putting out into the world and how this played, each time it just became more consciousness of, oh, hang on, I'm conscious of now that I'm doing these things in these patterns, these behaviors. And that's where we start to shred away part of our reality. I think a lot of people mix up, for me, is they mix up awakening and the dark night of the soul, because most people awaken in the dark night of the soul.
Yes.
Right? There's a shredding, there's things that are, your reality is changing, and there's 6 stages to the dark night of the soul. So it is partly becoming conscious in that, seeing our stuff, questioning, opening ourselves to something outside of the box. And then, we start to release, to start to bring in the new, and it's like we're becoming a baby walking again. And people can loop in those stages for a while, right?
Yes.
But dark night of the soul, awakening can be part of that, but it's not always, people have individual awakenings because there's Sagittarius and Kensho experiences. So some people just one day they have a Kundalini arise and they have this enlightened experience, mine wasn't happen that way. You know, I have had that happen. And when it happened, I rang my girlfriends going, wow, like my mind's like, what is happening? I'm just in like this spiritual orgasm. My body is orgasmic at the moment.
It feels good. It feels real good.
And I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, this is really yummy. But it was breathing and grounding through the whole experience that allowed it just to keep building and building instead of because as it started, my mind's like, what's happening? Why? And I was like, actually, this feels really good. I'm going to just breathe and ground and breathe and ground. And I was in yoga. So I was like, all of a sudden I'm like wanting to moan in the middle. I'm like, oh, what is happening? You know? And it went for hours, right? So, but that's a different experience of an awakening. That was not something that was me seeing then love and everything and, you know, the sensory expression through your body. So it's a different style again. So again, terminology of an awakening. Some people see it dark night of the soul. For me, it's a peace. You know, for me, it was starting to realize, ask questions, go in and actually start to see myself openly, honestly, with trying not to be judgmental as well. Right.
Because doing it gently.
It was hard because 8, if we look at our human design, was partly in my field. So judgment was one that I judged the judging. And then I, you know, it's like that negative energy. And I'd be like, oh, I got to stop judging yourself. You're not meant to be perfect. You're seeking perfectionism instead of seeing those parts and that haven't been seen, that haven't been heard, that haven't been, and they just want to be felt and loved, right? And in that was where I would evolve, right? So it's quite an interesting journey.
I love it.
I'd love to know what, like, with you, how was your?
I've had multiple awakenings. So I guess the first major one, actually, no, I need to circle back further. My first major one, I would say, was when I was 21. So I'm a 7-year cycle person. So my first major one was at 21, just before I turned 21. And I was overseas for the first time and I was in Vietnam. And I had no idea. I was so young and I had no idea what was going on. But I remember there was this storm happening. We were supposed to get on this bus and go traveling to another city overnight. And I remember just all of this stuff just coming to me. And I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, I need to leave my partner when I get back. I know that there's more to life. I need to prioritize myself. So that was sort of my first one. I got back and I honored that. And I said, all right, I need to go separate ways. This was a few weeks after I got back and we'd been together, like, I don't know, like 15 or 16 when we got together. And so I was like, no, I need to find myself. I need to live my life. So that was that one. And then more awakenings, like sort of the mini awakenings, having children. That was big. That was huge. Like the initiation into motherhood. I went through a loss before my daughter was born. So I had an ectopic pregnancy. So that in itself was just like this huge thing. But the first awakening I had with psilocybin, I was on my own. So I did a mushroom journey on my own and I wasn't prepared for what the awakening of that was. And I had, compared to like what a standard dose is, I had a strain that was quite strong and I only had 1/3 of a gram because I thought that would be gentle and it was not indeed gentle. And I had like this literal like awakening where it was so bright and I felt as though I was being pulled in life in 2 different directions and I had to choose. And so I sat with that. And then my other like major awakening was the first time I sat with grandmother medicine, which is acacia, which is the Australian vine of ayahuasca. And I've sat with that many times in beautiful ceremony, and every single time is an awakening. And I kind of got used to it. So these were all, I would say, like spiritual awakenings of know thyself. But then along the journey have been really incredible sexual awakenings as well. Because what you were saying before about like, you know, checking in with yourself about what you're passionate about, like what drives you, to me, it's sex and death. Like I'm fascinated and I love the topic and conversation of sex and death, the most taboo things like that we can probably experience in humanity. I'm like, let's get in there with conversation. Let's talk about it. And it's led me to being a Tantra teacher now, you know? And so, and it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, why don't you be a death doula? I'm like, no, I'm too busy having fun in life to deal with death right now. And so like, for me, it's going, okay, there is something in this. There, like through like sexual awakening, Kundalini energy, like what you can do solo, with breath, with the power of orgasm, with connection to self, with love, and then on the next level doing it in divine union with a partner. I'm like, the world would have no problems if everyone knew this. You know, let's get this message out.
I love it. I love it, because it's been a big part of my journey too, right? Like, I've seen in the relationships, each level of those was like a karmic one, or, you know, like evolving me. And I used to know there was, like, for me, sex was always very sacred. I always had long-term partners, right? It was very, and then, you know, after my divorce, it was like, oh, I need to find myself. I felt like I'd been kind of in a closet, not connected to myself. And then it was Tantra that actually allowed me, and I knew there was something. And so I still very much around the sacred sexuality, like the traditional Tantra. There's a lot of neo around, right? And
you're right.
Yeah. But when I like experienced that, where you felt like euphoric and your energy open, I'm like, who could ever go back to plain old sex?
Oh, who could have vanilla sex again?
Yeah,
exactly.
Never. Like, and it was for me, and that's why people are like, why are you single? I'm like, till I find somebody.
Till that person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because for me, it's not. I don't just need intimacy. There is a whole nother level that we experience through our body by connecting, and this is those energetic portals of orbiting and feeling and presence, and, you know, and that was an awakening on its own for me.
Hugely.
To feel my body, to feel pleasure like that, to be okay with that. Right? You know, and a lot of people kind of taboo around that, you know, where I've written lots of little pieces around the sexual union and what those things are, right? Because it is still somewhat very fragmented out there.
Oh, you know? Isn't it just? I know. I'm having such a fun time educating people in the work that I do, and I love it.
I love it. See, it's something that, you know, as much as I feel the pull for it at the moment, because of my circumstances with the kids and stuff like that, my ex is not very okay with any of that stuff. So if I was to teach some of that in my home, unfortunately, he would not be too.
Yeah, see, I've got like nude statues everywhere. I've got all sorts of things. My kids are well and truly educated.
No. Well, no, for them, they're okay with that. Like, I walk around naked. We talk about all those things, but I'm like, is in the laws in Queensland around being someone that teaches about sexuality. And that really upsets, like, me in a way, because it should be something that's not taboo.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be something that's
wide open.
That we should be bringing people forward to.
Absolutely.
Right? But yeah, I've been warned by friends who've had exes. Me and my ex are not on the same wavelength.
Got you. Yeah.
And so I won't go too deep into that, but there's that energy of like, wow, I have all this wisdom to share about those experiences, and then yet the society side of things actually is like, you can't do that, or that's wrong, or you know what I mean?
See, I take that and I go, hold my cacao.
I'm ready. Come on, let's go.
You say no, I say let's go.
And I wanted to for a while there, but then it was like, hang on, I could lose my children.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've got to do what's best for you. Absolutely.
You know, and I know that it's an area that it was like, I had to make a choice at that time of honoring me as a mom and still honoring I can teach these things without bringing it into my home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So because I mean, I teach some of my clients the orbiting of energy and connection, and when they're in union and doing all those things, right? But I class it as energetics more so than anything sexual, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and I encourage people to start to realize that there is these imprints and energetics that we blend and mix. Like, I know, like, one of mine was that in my intimate relationship with my last boyfriend, I realized I could feel his energy, feel what what he hadn't healed, feel those pieces. And when they came up, I was like, what is this? I don't actually do this. This is not something I respond to. I don't do these emotional, manipulative type things. Why do I feel like this? And then I realized that was so in his field. And I was like, wow, like, they don't speak about this often, you know what I mean? So there's so much teaching in that too.
There is, and we're not taught this from a young age. And I'm so passionate about teaching people, especially because, like, you know, the clients that come to me, I'm not working with teenagers. I'm not working with younger generations. I'm working with people, our generation and older, that have, like, everything's been pushed down. Everything's been suppressed. Everything's been made wrong. Everything that they've been taught is that they have to fit into this small little box. And sexuality cannot, the same as spirituality, it does not fit into a box.
No.
You can't. You
Nope.
cannot contain something or put rules around something which is just so innate to you and so different to everybody.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is I look at it now when I've started getting into the womb energetics and learning about the ancient mystery schools and the teachings that came forward about the feminine, about the suppression of spirituality, about the suppression of sexual connection, about the equalness in masculine and feminine, and how we actually, if we come together, and we see such a fragmented society where so many families are broken, and that there's, we look at that and why there's such a separation, right? And this actually kind of brings into, like, we've watched over the last 50 or so years where we've gone from the suppressed feminine to the rise of the feminine power, which happened with the world wars because men went off to war, women were openly invited back to work. So they started to come in, and then the polarization happens where they're like emasculating men, right? And then now with the COVID or pandemic, I seen that there was I was seeing a lot of men that were now in more their light masculine. So they didn't have drive and focus. So this is that pendulum where we've had so many men for so long in this dark masculine, work hard, don't feel your emotions, you know, you provide, and then now the pendulum swung where these men want to be home with their kids. They want connection, but they have no drive and focus because the pendulum swung.
It's too far back the other way. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with the pandemic, when I was channeling messages around that, it was really about that this is the period where we start to come back into union, one within ourselves. So this has been my journey since my divorce of going from the light feminine, going into my dark feminine, feeling my body, feeling alive, watching myself go through the quadrants, right? And how does she come together in union within myself and meeting those parts of me, my dark, my light, when I say dark and light, we know that's not unhealthy. That's the chakra systems. Light is top, dark's bottom, right? Yep. And in light and dark, there can be unhealthy and healthy, right? But this is meeting those four quadrants and seeing whether are the healthy bits and unhealthy bits. And we polarize from that. So after that, I went in my marriage, being the real light, almost no boundaries, people pleasing, attracting guys that were very controlling, to then eventually doing this healing work. And then I was attracting these men that were actually really soft and really present and I was like, I've never experienced this before. It was such a change, but then they didn't have drive and focus, right?
Yes.
And so I was picking up that there's this energy, the shift is happening where the men will now, women arise, and we're coming more into a balance. We've come into more of a balanced state within the feminine, and now the masculine's kind of coming back
forward. Yes. And I love watching it. I love watching it because I feel like there is this movement, but I also feel like there's still so much to go. I feel like it's such a, there's a lot to happen, but I love seeing it. And I also, it's really funny because I just noticed on my Facebook memories before that it was a year ago I published an article for Brains magazine, and because I spoke about the rise of the girl boss movement and how it had gone too far.
Yep.
And it was women are okay, we get to be like men, and it was a toxic feminism that said we have to do this, or we can make all of our own money, and we can be the one to retire our husbands, and we can do all of this kind of stuff. And so women are yeah, we're strong, we can do this, let's do this, let's fuck the patriarchy, fuck us staying at home. I mean, these days, right? I'm kind of can I just stay at home? How do you how do you apply to be a housewife?
100%. It's the balance, right? I'm the same. I'm I want to do this and I want to have a bit of that.
Exactly.
Right? I don't want to do the corporate, I don't want to do the 9 to 5. That was where I was the choice, right?
Yes. This episode of the Enlightened podcast is proudly sponsored by the Sanctuary of Self, your portal to self-discovery and creating a sanctuary within. At the Sanctuary of Self, our philosophy is rooted in the belief that true transformation begins with knowing yourself deeply. Here you'll find my signature programs. It's the home of all of my Tantra offerings, including in-person sessions in Brisbane, workshops and trainings all around Australia. I invite you to start with the Flourish Collective membership, a nurturing sanctuary for personal growth and transformation. This membership offers a greenhouse of resources, including workbooks, meditations, and soulful self-paced practices designed to help you cultivate alignment, purpose, and self-love. At only $44 per month with no lock-in contract, you can access an abundance of resources, videos, ebooks, meditations, and workshops with new content added monthly. Head to sanctuaryofself.love for all the juicy details.
Of like finding that balance, whereas a lot of now women are starting to go, oh, I'm exhausted. Like I didn't get to see my children raise or grow, or I didn't get to, or I don't have flexibility. I have no time. My relationship's breaking down. I'm, they liked it, but then they found that actually the system is just draining,
Exactly. And I've seen this in its own little ecology. So I used to work with, I had a lot of clients that were in a multi-level marketing space for essential oils. And it was almost like there was this mentality in the group that you can get to a point where you retire your husband, and that was the goal. Okay. So it was women do all the work, and women, so the way in which they promoted it is that the women had essentially the power to retire their husbands. So then some of them were retiring the husbands, but then all of the weight was put on the women to sustain a very fragile business model, easily collapsible. And I've seen the business model collapse, and I've seen husbands have to go back to work. I've seen the wives burnt out to a crisp. I've seen people lose everything. I've seen relationships break down, and my heart goes out to them. But it was never a sustainable model to begin with.
No.
And I think at the end of the day, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Kelly, is that you just get to decide what's best for you, not what the collective is doing. Come back to yourself. What do you want? What works best for you? What does your nervous system need? What does your own family ecology need? What do you, and seasonally as well, like let's have a girl boss season and let's have a girl moss season where we go into the forest and just rot in the forest.
Yeah, I love it, right? That's true, right? Like for me, I was like, hang on, what do my values? What is me?
Yes.
What actually
What
is
do you
aligned,
want? What
right?
do you want?
And this is the thing most people don't realize. You can have that.
You have a choice.
You have a choice, right? And you can have success, whatever success is. It can be money, and abundance comes in so many forms, right? And you can have freedom, and you can have connection, and you can have time with your children. What do you want?
Yeah.
You need to actually choose that, and then realize what are my priorities, my values amongst that, and lean into that space.
Work towards that. Exactly.
Yeah, what is my fuck yes? What is my fuck no? Because it's very clear when you know what your boundaries and your values
and you can
are.
feel that in your body. And if you're disconnected from your body's going to be giving you all of the signals. It's going to be inflammation. It's going to be dis-ease. It's going to be weight gain. It's going to be exhaustion. It's going to be all of the things. Like the body's going to be like, hello, this is not working. And we're just like, oh, let's just pop some pills and make it feel better. And let's do some breath work. Don't get me wrong, I love breath work. But if you're not getting to the root of the problem, you're just going to keep having to do breath work to not deal with the root of the problem. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's that complete, like you come full circle and be like, wait, I get to choose. Yeah. Like I get to decide what I want. Like I had a really hard conversation, and I say it was hard. It was hard for my client this morning that I had a conversation with. I was like, black and white, get out of the gray zone. What do you want? Like, are you going to choose this path or this path? There's no fucking around.
Yeah.
Choose.
1 foot in, 1 foot
out.
Decide. Yeah.
Like you can stay suffering, or you can look a different way and create a different reality. But you've got to make that move forward. You've got to decide. And then you take a step back and go, what is it that I need? How do I make this sustainable? How do I make this enjoyable? How do I get my nervous system on board? What needs to be healed? Who do I need to forgive? What do I need to work on in manifesting? There's so many elements to it. Right. But at the end of the day, figure it the fuck out. It's that easy.
Choose
and
it.
It's that hard.
100%. Define it. Like the universe asks for clarity. It's the law of refinement. Choose something, right? And clear the rest of the things out that are not in alignment, right? And that's the path, right? It's like, I choose this, and this is what I, and in my work, it took a while before I was like, this is me. This is where I'm going. This is like, and I had to keep every time choosing me, choosing what I wanted, choosing how I wanted to show up, knowing that I can make a difference, knowing that my what I do in my business is sustainable. And then it's showing others that this is possible too, right? Because our society most people are functioning in survival. They're functioning in that the sympathetic nervous system. I need to make money. I need to do this. My success makes me worthy. unworthy, that others are going to, like this is that energy, right? And so many people don't know how. It's like they're so scared to make a choice that actually is in alignment to choose a better way.
And generally it's because they're going to go for what is familiar again. So on top of all of us sort of saying like, oh yeah, just change your mind, right? What's happening underneath is those deep-seated beliefs in the subconscious that is the driver of the car. You're in the passenger seat and your subconscious mind is like, oh, wee, bumper cars. Hey, there's a gutter. Let's go into there. The irony is I hit a gutter last night and shredded my tire. And
right.
Yeah, the irony of the universe going, you're going to have to sit and wait in a servo for 2 hours for roadside assistance to come and fix you. Yeah, I know. It was a whole thing. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I get it now.
There's a message.
Thank you. Exactly. But it was like, okay, what needs to change here? And I just feel as though like the work, when we talk about the work is getting clear on what is the belief that is holding you back from what it is that you do want, not sustaining what it is that you don't want. Because I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention any names, but the client I was working with this morning, she's unsure about the direction and the vitality of her relationship and the viability of her relationship. However, what she believes to be true is that if she was to be a solo mum who homeschools, she's going to be completely broke and she'll have to go get a night field job at Woolies, and that's just, she flat out refuses to. So all she can see is that, because that's all she knows to be true. And I said to her, okay, so tell me of one person you know that is thriving on their own as a single mother, in community, and living abundantly. Couldn't see it, can't see it, doesn't believe that exists. And I said, I don't care what social media, you have to comb through conversations to have to find that. But if your reticular activating system or your RAS does not know that that is possible, you're not going to have any form of proof that that's possible for you. So figure it out. Like, believe it to be true. If you can model one other person doing it, that it exists for someone, it can exist for you. But if you're building a whole concept that X equals Y, that, single means broke, then that's all you're going to experience. Where did you believe that? Where did that come from? Was it your parents' wounding? Was it a grandparent's wounding? Was it a uncle or auntie's wounding? Like, where have you adopted this belief from? Was it a societal one? And when you look in a different direction to sustain a new belief and you start to embody that, and your nervous system gets on board and goes, that's possible and I can figure that out. I can do that. Hang on, I can have this. Wait, I am worthy of having this. Oh, I can make money and do things on my own if I need to have an exit strategy to leave a relationship. You're going to go, okay, well, I can move towards that because there's safety in it, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all we're looking for is safety.
Safety. We're trying to find a way of thriving, and that's the nervous system, right? And as you're saying, like, it's finding a belief. When I did it, I didn't really know anyone that was a single mom thriving either. It was, and I was scared, and it was like, my whole body was like, I can't do this. I want my kids to have things, and I want us to have a great life. But I also don't want to go to 9 to 5 or be like trading things I value.
Exactly.
And that was the stepping stone for me to go, what do I really value? And seeing that, hang on, is this really illusion? Is this disbelief? Is this really actually factual? Because in a world that there's billions of people, you cannot tell me that there's not single mothers out there that are thriving and not doing 9 to 5, like yourself, right? Like, she was talking to someone, you've got a partner, but you are a single mom. And are you not thriving? Like, she knows somebody. You're actually talking to her. But sometimes as the coach, they're like, oh, I can't be you. They don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes they're like, okay, I need to find other people.
And sometimes that's why, like, people have come to me in the past for coaching. It's because they've seen what I do, how I live my life, what I have moved through, and they want to model that. I'm like, great, let me mentor you through that. You need an exit strategy? We'll build an exit strategy. You need to know how to fill out, paperwork to do this, that, and the other. Great, let's do it. I have been there, done that, got the fridge magnet and the tea towel. You know what I mean? I can support you through that. Let that be an inspiration for your journey and make it your own. And because if there's someone else out there doing or having what you want, what you desire, It is possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. And then if you feel as though you can't have that, that right there is the invitation to go into the belief, to find where you started to believe that you were unworthy of that.
Yep.
It's not even like, what do I have to do to get there?
Yeah.
It's what do I have to do to figure out why I'm not there?
Yeah. Yeah. What is holding me back? What is
Exactly.
that block? You know, and it is a belief, right? And it's set in the nervous system, right? So, you know, for me, it's like and then it's witnessing. I say to people, we can find that reason. Like I can go back in my timeline. I can find the belief. I can find the story and why it's there and witness it.
Yes.
Right. But I can't change it if I'm still in that system.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So that's where we're learning to regulate the nervous system, open our energy to clear the field, and then being present to keep changing and using the tools to shift our reality. And it's step by step. It's not like going from A to Z.
Yeah.
There is a journey in it, right? Like you and me went on a journey. We didn't just one day wake up and we're here.
No. Oh, fuck. It's been a journey. Oh my God. And I wouldn't want it any other way either.
No.
And this is life. This is evolving.
Yeah.
This is the fun part. Like, as much as I can have like a really funky day, I can still go to bed and be grateful for every single moment and wake up going, fuck yeah, what have you got for me today?
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm here. I signed my soul contract to say, I'm going to have a human experience. I want to feel it all.
Yeah.
Right. So if I want to have the mind-blowing orgasms and the absolute abundance that life has to offer me and the sacred moments, I also have to be in the fucking trenches, in the depths of the darkness, vomiting my guts up in a ceremony and releasing all this shit, right?
Yeah.
To understand how great it can be.
100%.
Like, you've got to have polarity to understand the extremes. And for me, I love the extremes. I'm a bit of a crazy person like that.
I do function that way too, right? But I guess I'm very lucky too. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I've been in the darkness, I've been in the trenches, I see myself, I witness myself, I've been, you know, and I say to people, we have to feel it to experience it. And it's always like when we hit the dark parts of ourselves, right? That's allowing us to feel the light parts of ourselves,
you
right?
You cannot have one without the other.
Cannot. It's the polarity. But the more times that we learn the tools and work the processes, it becomes easier because it becomes part of our new nervous system. It becomes part of our neuron pathways. It becomes part of our subconscious, and our body just resets ourselves. You know, I go into my chaotic moments and my emotional things and this and that. And then I notice how quickly I actually shift out of those now because my body has actually become like cellular memory to actually, I can feel safe in this.
Yes. It's all about safety.
Yeah. Safe. I can move through this and tomorrow I will. And I remember a few years ago, because I was so good at moving through things, that I got this message, you need to sit in the mud. And I was like, what does that mean? And like for 4 months, all of a sudden it made me like everything was really slow and I was stuck and I was like, and they're like, because you need to feel what most people feel, because they feel stuck in the mud, right? That the like foot's like each foot is like I'm having to pull clunk, you know? And I was like, oh, thank you for this lovely reminder, right? Because it became for me, it was like, oh, I see this. Okay, I know where I'm going and I'm just going to go there, right? And so it was like all the things, I'd just be like pushing the like the weeds and pulling it out of the way, like, okay, that's gone, that's gone. And it was just like I move fast, and most people don't move that fast.
I'm a fast mover too, and I guess because when you're in it, or you understand it, or you have the tools, you can move fast because you understand the process, and it's not bypassing either. You got to be really careful not to bypass your way out of the mud, because sometimes there is so much gift in the mud. It's really good for your skin, right?
Yes, it does.
People pay to go to mud baths to sit in the fucking mud.
It's full of amazing things, right?
It's full of nutrients. Good for the skin, doll.
Well, it's in the darkness that I found my light, right? It was in my dark night of the soul. It was in my darkness that I was like, oh, all these gifts are laying here hidden from my consciousness, right? And that was in the mud, right? In each part. So when I look back, it was in the darkness that I was like, if I went in and didn't allow the head to keep me trapped and in the stories and in the illusion, and I just went in and felt, and then eventually it was like, oh, like,
it's like, I get it now.
I get it. Like all of a sudden this light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, now I see why that happened to me. Now I see why that path was opened up, because then it allowed me to be this multifaceted understanding. Like you are very gifted in understanding, like I am, because we've experienced it.
Yes.
Because we went there. And I remember in the beginning of my healing journey, it was like, how can I be a healer if I'm not completely healed? Right.
Yeah.
Like that story of I just have to be perfectly, like a saint. And it was like, bullshit.
No, it's going to repel people. Absolutely. It's like, hang on, you're too far gone.
You're too perfect. How do I reach that? Whereas it became this thing like, like the last week, I had this collective thing with the moon, and I was like, what is happening? I'm feeling all this rawness around relationships and, this energy. And I just post that, and everyone on Facebook was like, oh my gosh, yes. But it's a collective thing. So it made me realize that I'd feel things usually a few days or a week before others.
Yes.
I'd process.
Yes.
And then these people would come in and I'd be like, oh yes, I know what,
get it.
I get it. I see the story. I know how to unpack it. Like, let's go there, right? And because it makes them feel safe, that they know that I've got them.
That there's someone else that
I'm
gets
holding
it. Exactly that. Absolutely.
They're not alone. Most people think we're alone.
Yeah, we're not. We're really not. No, there's others out there to support each other. What would you say? Like, there's no doubt someone listening to this right now going, okay, that's all well and good. How do I go in and change the belief? Like, what is a tangible tool that you can give to the listeners to be like, this is a great place to start?
Well, if we're looking at beliefs, I mean, I've talked about the nervous system so many times, right? You have to see the belief first. You actually have to witness, this is my story. This is what I'm buying into, right? And then we got to go, okay, do I choose this to be my reality? Am I going to keep buying into it? It's being in that. Having the awareness of it is one thing.
Yeah.
It's not the way to resolve it though, right? And for me, it's like, okay, then what are tools, and what are those tools, right? For me, it's the nervous system regulation. It's bringing myself into presence. So each time that belief comes up, I'm like, oh, okay, I am actually reacting in that belief. I'm doing a pattern, or for me it was like the anxiety and the people pleasing were linked together, right? Of like not feeling safe. Oh, hang on. Well, if these are systems and beliefs I've created because I don't feel safe, well, what am I seeking? Safety. So how do I make myself feel safe in this moment to open my energy?
Yes.
Because you cannot, like I said, you can't change what's hidden or held in the body if your body's contracted energetically.
Yes.
Right. So we need to be in presence and have awareness. We need to be able to get out of the mind and into our body. We need to open our body up and get curious, like ask the questions when we see the things, like, okay, why? Actually just get to be your own best friend, right?
Literally.
Like your soul knows the way too. So for me, it was also like lately I've been really showing a lot of people, how do we actually connect into that part of ourselves and start to listen to asking it the questions. Is this truth?
Yeah.
Is this illusion? Is this a yes, or is this a no? Like, what does that feel like? There is an energy within our body in relation to that, right? And we've not, as a society or as people, been taught how to meet that part of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, our intuition goes off and our head talks us out of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if we go back into the body and listen and go, okay, what actually feels like truth? And if we're in that trusting in ourselves, then we can move through. And I think it just depends on the belief and the pattern that we've got in relation to it, right? Like if you're people pleasing, like, okay, well, I'm kind of abandoning myself in this.
Yeah.
Right. So when did I feel abandoned in my life? But also, why am I abandoning myself?
Yeah. What did I have to believe about myself in order to have this experience?
Yeah. And so often it was like, oh, but I just wanted to be liked.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing other people before myself. Right. So then it's like, so you start to unravel, like, okay, hang on, I'm choosing somebody else's, and not speaking up, like, hang on, let's choose me for a moment. Right. And just hold you, hear you, feel you.
And just be in it. Like, be in it as long as you need to be in it. And sometimes, like, it is that simple. Yeah. Like, sometimes to go through and rewire a belief is to just be with the discomfort that's been your reality. Invite in self-forgiveness if you need to. And then I always say, like, have something else to go to that you want to believe in. You know, take yourself from like, yes, I've existed here. Yes, that's kept me safe. However, I'm going somewhere else. And then in order to sustain that belief, I don't give a shit if it's affirmations. I don't give a shit if it's a tattoo. Do you know what I mean? Like whatever it is it's going to take to help you rewire that, create a new neural pathway, working on that every day.
That was what I was going to say, because it's the shift, right? Like we have a pathway, then belief is built on a neuron pathway, right?
Yes.
So the energy runs on that. And so each time we're in awareness and we pivot ourselves, open and expand our energy system to feel safe, we're creating little exits on that pathway, right? And the more times we do that, every time we do that, that pathway gets lit up more and more times. And then we have that brain scan that does the neuroplasticity. What happens eventually is it takes the glue from that old pathway, that old belief, and sticks it on your new one.
Yeah.
Right. So, if we can think of 3 things that are, the diversity, if it's this we don't want, what is it that we do want?
What is it that you do want? Exactly.
Yeah. If you can't go there, how do we go into our heart and just feel gratitude?
Yes.
How do we feel, that alpha frequency? Because stress and low vibration are in a beta frequency. So we're already pivoting ourselves to something different, right?
Yes.
Where we're actually experiencing more happiness, more gratitude, more love for ourselves just in that moment. So it's like, and it doesn't take long. I've seen some people from 3 days of doing the process to, it's usually 21 to 28 days to rewire
it. Yeah.
So each day,
yeah,
presence, when you see it come up, don't judge yourself. And I'd say to people too, if you want to fast track, like some people can do that 3-day thing. A lot of people though, when you're really ready to do it, when we are ready to change something, the TV turns on and all the parts of the story come on and people are like,
freak out. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this has made it worse. Yeah. Like I'm now seeing all these things that I'm doing. And, and they get into this real, like beating themselves up, self-critical judgment. The actual TV turning on is your soul going, okay, you've always done these things. You just weren't conscious of it. Now we're going to show you so you're conscious of it and you get to choose and define your reality. So each time it turns on, that thing happens. Instead of beating ourselves up, we go, I'm just going to pivot. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to pivot. How do I do that? And for me, when I was starting to learn how to settle my nervous system, first thing I would do is ground and breathe and pulling my energy up just so I was in presence. And then I would reset the neuron pathway that actually allows us to shut down the sympathetic nervous system and drop us back into our body. And then as I realized, because I was breathing and grounding beforehand, later on, every time I breathe and ground, my nervous system resets now. Because I was doing those together in the beginning.
Yes, you set it up that way. It became your new baseline.
My body was like, oh, okay, I know what's going on now. As soon as you stop and like, I feel my feet on the ground and go, just that beginning of the breath, I noticed my nervous system reset straight away because I'd programmed. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing in the beginning because I was in so much chaos. I was just like, I need anything. Get me the fuck out of here. I want to feel better. I'm not being the best mom I need to be. I want a better life. Like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm struggling to concentrate. My head's so noisy. I can't handle the kids' noise. Like all those things were present for me. So it's like, okay, I'm committed because they are what I didn't have them to have them in chaos. And it was like showing them through my own healing as well, right? And it just was bit by bit. I didn't know when I was doing that it was leading me to be this amazing healer, on a path of sacred union, on all these other things. It was like I just wanted to fuck out of where I was at. I wanted to feel better and I wanted to be a better mom. I wanted a better life for us. I didn't want to just be stuck in the mud.
I love it.
So it is just, but ask, like, in trusting, I was doing so many things in the beginning. I get in the bath and imagine it washing away the yuckiness. I get in the shower, wash away the heaviness. As I breathe in, I'm receiving energy. As I breathe out, I'm releasing all that yuckiness. Like I didn't know if it was working or not. I was just
like, I've learned this from somewhere. Let's give that a go. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And someone said, what did stick? And I was like, I think it was like a mix of everything. Not every bit of it is valid. It works.
It really does because people find the answers like oracle cards, tarot cards, pendulums, going to psychics, breath work, plant medicine, like all of they're all tools. They're all amazing tools. Whatever gets you there, babe.
100%.
Like whatever gets you there. Like there's no right or wrong way to get there. But whatever it is that you can go to feel supported, placebo or not, woo-woo or not, fuck it. It doesn't matter. But if that's what's going to get you there, great. Do that.
Yeah. Be committed. Like, yes, it's like what you're saying. Get in there and just choose. I choose that I want out. I choose I want a better reality. I choose a better life. I choose I want this to honor my values. I choose my children. I choose. And it was actually the post I did this morning. It was like, I chose. Like, I was like, yes. Like, even though I say I feel like I'm one foot in one reality and the other, and I'm this like being of both, you know, I chose. Like, this is me, and I'm honoring me, and I'm that. And that's where everyone needs to make a commitment to self. What do you really want?
Exactly.
If you want a better life, you can create it. If you want, you know, a better relationship, you can create it. If you want more money, you can create it. If you want more freedom, you can create it. If you fucking want it all, you can create it.
Have it all. Exactly. If you want it all, go for it. I love that. I love that. I feel like you and I could talk for hours on this.
I think we spun around.
I know. We've just gone like I love it. We're so on the same wavelength. Kelli, how can people step into your field on your map, work with you? What does that look like?
So I'm Kelli from Energetically Inspired, Kelli Hurley from Energetically Inspired. So I'm on most platforms. So Facebook, TikTok,
we'll link to all that in the show notes.
All that, yeah. So they basically just have to reach out. I usually will have a quick conversation with almost everyone that enters my field to make sure, because I truly believe that as much as I'm amazing and great at doing what I do, I want to make sure that I can serve you.
It's a match.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's so many other people out there, and it's like, okay, like I want to make sure we're going to get you results, right? So I will feel into that field, right? And most of the time it is yes. So there's very few people have gone, yeah, no, sorry. And some of them have been because I was like, yeah, no, you're like demonically energetically. Like I was like, you're not coming in my house. Like,
go and have an exorcism and come back to me.
I was like, I can't do that one. I'm not dealing with that one. I probably could. I can do it, but I was like, you're going to bring it back on yourself.
And
right?
so you're based on the Gold Coast.
I am on the Gold Coast.
Are you seeing people online or in person or both?
I do both, right? Beautiful. And I also have programs as well. So like an immersion into yourself. I have intuition, your superpower. I have Quantify. Quantify is for the spiritual entrepreneurs or the corporate people wanting to bring the spiritual aspect back in, where they're aligning to their values, where they are like all my programs have been parts of my journey. So the first one was finding me, you know. Second one was honoring my superpower, my intuition. And then the next one was like, hang on, let's bring this to, there's so many beautiful people, like spiritual people that have all these gifts that are like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, are scared to believe and take the leap of faith that they can have it all, right? And it's there through the energy. It's there through that committing to self. It's like, how do we create that? You want abundance in money, use the universal laws, put yourself first. Like there's certain processes. There is some structure, but there's also this space of tangible and intangible. And it's bringing energy together with it. So for me, I've got online, in person, you name it, it's there. Reach out and we'll see if we can make it work.
Amazing, Kelli. Thank you so much for being part of the Enlightened podcast. I've loved having you on the show.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this myself, actually.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.